Welcome back to Real Repairs for Real Customers. With automotive repairs, we see the same kind of materials in the same models of cars, and we get used to the repair methods. But when it comes to residential furniture repairs, we face unique circumstances. We are fixing items we've never fixed before, colors we seldom match, and a repair scenario that may be unique. How do we approach these one-off repair scenarios? We have just that kind of repair today. And we'd like you to get your coffee and come along with us and let's go to work. Well, the first thing that might strike you about this chair is the coloration and the design. You'd be thinking, well, a solid color vinyl repair, that's no problem. But what about this dual color? This is not something we do every day, so this will require making a plan of action. The vinyl is really thin, so just for fun, let's take a look and see what we have. We've got 38 thousandths, including the backing. And the vinyl itself is hanging here. Let's take a measurement of that. Well, there you go, 18 thousandths. Compared to a typical vinyl you would find in the automotive upholstery is 40 thousandths. Here's some leather from the aircraft, and let's get a better measurement on that. There we go. About 42 thousandths on that. Here's some ultra leather, which is just a urethane laminate on a backing. And there we are, about 29 thousandths on that. Instead of hand stitching thread, I'm going to use the sewing machine thread on this one, just being very careful that it doesn't cut through the vinyl. I don't have a grain pad with this impression, so we're going to make one. I'm choosing to use the dual cartridge compound with the static mixer in the dispenser. I'm going to put this directly onto the seat vinyl. The extra spray silicone is for a quick release. I'm going to use just half the cartridge. While I'm at it, I'm going to use this leather to get a grain on the top side. We're jumping ahead because this is one of 3 places I forgot to push record. So here's the leather grain, and here is the vinyl grain, which is not very pronounced, unfortunately. So the secret to this one-off is to do a mock-up. I'm not liking the grain impression we got. It's not very deep. I don't think we can use it, but we're going to put it on here anyway, just to show it off. By the way, on a soft substrate, what depth of grain are you getting? Is it 100% or is it 90%? If you're getting 90% of the depth, and then you're getting 90% of that transferred into the repair, then you're down to 81% of the original grain, which is why sometimes having the right grain doesn't work. If you got 100% of the imprint, that would be a different story. Without enough depth of grain, I'm not going to get the 2 colors contrasting as they are in the seat. So I am electing to go for an oxen grain pad that I already have. Find a location on that oxen grain that has deep grains and long lines, and we'll see what that looks like in our mock-up. And this is really nice. This will give me something to work with. The idea is to wipe color into the grain and then wipe the excess off the top side. However, wiping it off the top side made a mess. I forgot to push record again. Anyway, so I wiped it off the top side and decided we're not going to do that on our finished repair. We're going to color them in with a brush. And then to get the color on the top side, we're going to use our improvised roller and see how that works. And you know, this is how the material was originally made. There was a lighter color fabric that went through printing roller, and then the darker color was added. So we want to see how that's going to work. We don't really know, and here's our first go at it. You're seeing it as I see it. So we're both experimenting together here. So I notice I get one roll and then the paint's used up. I don't mind having a lighter application. You can always build up several light coats, so you know the second rolling is going to have a lighter application. So it looks like the best way to do it is to re-ink the roller after each pass. Well, we learned something. It looks like we're getting somewhere with this, so let's do a comparison. I think this will make a really good base repair, and the rest of it will be speckled in to blend. So I think that'll work. We're going to do the repair using the baseball stitch. First of all, let's anchor the corner. A simple square knot will take care of that, and that will leave us two legs on which to do a baseball stitch. For the baseball stitch, we'll use the curved needle. With a rounded tip, we come up on either side, just a little bit past the end of our damage. Make an X with the two strands coming out directly across from one another. So this stitch pulls the vinyl together as it was originally, and instead of a loose flap here, the whole panel is put back into tension. So we get a conformity to the original lay of the material. This could be a curved cushion, a flat cushion, it doesn't matter. The finished product will be the original lay of the fabric on the cushion and at the original tension. When we get to the end, we want to avoid putting a knot on top of the material. So in order to avoid that, we're going to swap sides here and travel back. And our knot will be made back here where the knot can fall down into the cut, and it will be down out of the way instead of sitting on top of the vinyl. Mostly I put both ends of the thread on the single needle and then bury that tail. Now we won't be snipping the thread too close to the knot. For many years, people have glued a sub-patch behind the vinyl. The edges of the sub-patch, though, always reveal themselves with a little mark in the top side. Also, depending on the adhesive that you use, for example, a solvent adhesive, it will actually cause the vinyl to swell up. And then again, even if you used a water-based adhesive, how are you going to hold the vinyl together in tension as it is here? So the sub-patch really has never worked well for this kind of repair. Now we're applying some heat-cured vinyl compound. I put some coloration in this so that you can see it well as it goes on. Otherwise, it's going to dry clear. But this is the initial step where we will iron our repair compound, which will also iron our threads flat into the vinyl. I just do a little bit at a time so that I can control my work. Using the graining paper, we do have an indication of how hot our iron is. If it browns the paper too quickly, we're way too hot on the iron. If we can dwell for 15 or 20 seconds without barely browning the paper, then we're doing good. And so this is working well. So far, so good. Everything is going according to plan. We use the Bondo Spreader to flatten our repair compound. The iron and the paper both help to keep us nice and flat in our repair. The chill bar absorbs the heat, but also helps to keep it flat while it's cooling. Because we don't want to pull the paper off while it's still too hot, we will pull everything right out. So I'm really happy with the base repair here. I am going to add a little bit of our base color, as that will reveal the imperfections. This is just to show the status of our repair up to this point, so now we know where to concentrate our efforts. I'm just going to target the areas that need touched up. Do an inspection here. It's not totally cured up there, so let's finish that up. All right. And then again, just keep aiming for whatever pinholes or imperfections need fixed. Just target those little by little. We have full control if we do just a small spot at a time. That's so important. We're going to follow up with the graining pad and the heat gun approach as we did on our mock-up. Only I forgot to hit record initially, so I've already got a head start on you. Coming up now I've already got a couple applications on, and I lightened up the color of the repair material just a little bit. So we do have a colored material, and we're using that same oxen grain pad that we did in our mock-up. I'm getting some grain, but as I'm looking across here, I'm not seeing the depth of grain that I'm anticipating. Well, I'm going to go ahead and level out the other areas that I see could use a little work. Notice the upper right corner of the chill bar is making an impression in the vinyl where it's hot. So I need to wave the heat gun over there and relax that vinyl, and that mark will come right out. So I'm wondering at this point, did I not get this vinyl hot enough to get the grain impression? And so I'm heating it up in a couple of places, a little extra heat, and I'm finally coming to the conclusion here that the coloration in the vinyl repair material is preventing my getting a good grain. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the original vinyl repair material with no color in it whatsoever. And we know that this is our best graining option. So here we go. And to be honest with you, this is what we did with our mock-up. So we should have stayed with the mock-up idea instead of putting color in the compound so that you could see it in the video. We should have stayed with our initial plan. Okay, so this is the vinyl repair compound that gives the best graining, and you'll see right here, this is what we were looking for. This kind of busy grain, good depth of grain. And so now we're on to the next step. A little prep work here, and then we're going to brush in our color. So as we stated, wiping in this base color, the lighter color, made a bigger mess than what we wanted. So if I can brush it in all the low areas of this grain, I think we'll be ahead of the game. It doesn't have to be that precise because the high areas are getting covered with the darker color anyway. I'm sure this means something in Japanese. I'm probably going to hear about that from my Japanese friends. And here's the moment of truth. Rolling our top color on. Now I'm going for the blend. So I've got two guns with the colors. Here's the lighter color. I've got the speckles, just the right size pixel to go in here to blend. And now the darker color to blend. Lighter pixels again. Darker pixels. So I'm going back and forth with the two colors. And here is the clear coat that's going to bring everything together. Before we leave out, we have to touch up a couple of marks where the top color has come off, revealing the solid lighter bottom color. So we've seen the importance of making a plan, doing a mock-up. If we're going to have difficulties, it's better to do that on the mock-up than on the seat itself. And you've seen the superiority of the baseball stitch over the sub-patch. You've seen it work here, up close, in color and in high definition. So even though the sub-patch has been a mainstay of the vinyl repair industry for decades, I hope you can see that I'm not being presumptuous when 15 years ago I pronounced an end to the sub-patch. It would only be in very rare circumstances that we would ever use a sub-patch anymore at all. Thank you for watching. I hope this helps you the next time you're facing one of those residential furniture one-off kind of repairs.